What is up, party people? It's your boys, Birds of a Feather back in. Missing one, but your boy OGP. Got Chucks, got PY down there. And I don't know what his hair is doing, but it's kind of laying flat. Looks, I don't know. He's trying to do the Clark Kent, but it looks like Clark Bent. But nevertheless, it's another beautiful Tuesday evening here in the Delaware Valley, South Jersey for most of us. Bleeding green here. Brought to you by Alonzi Travel, specializing in creating a vacation of your dreams at Disney, Universal, wherever your heart calls you. Let the talented team of travel experts create a custom vacation just for you. As always, we are on the A2D Radio platform. Catch us everywhere, A2D Radio, all social handles. Like, share, subscribe. Feed the Algo Beast. Get us out there. To Martian, to Pove, Hot Tag, just came off a Hockey Happy Hour. To Ryan Swope, we are here. We are present. Gentlemen, how are we feeling tonight?
Spicy, because I just ate Cheetos Flamin' Hot baked chips. So
this guy, like, your stomach hates you. Your stomach literally hates you. I mean, we're very diverse with our palates, right? I'm kind of in the middle. I like things simple. I like things complex. Chucks will eat anything. Essentially, wow.
I'm boring. I'm playing.
Is the total opposite.
You're mundane.
To be fair, like my diet is like completely changed in like the last month.
PY, can you enlighten the listeners, the fam? When we went out last Saturday and you ordered
2
Saturdays ago, what did you order?
I just ordered the plain hamburger. I don't like all the extra stuff. Like I'm a picky eater. And like people always look at me like I'm crazy, but like it's insane that I have to lie like about my allergies because people can't figure it out. Like they'll put pickles. The pickles make me want to vomit. So I'm just like, oh, I'm allergic. So that way people are like, oh, I won't want to do that. I don't want to get them killed.
Yeah, here's the thing, right? It's like the shocking thing, and we'll get into the show. I see our chat is already flowing. It wasn't what you ordered. It was the double down, like she didn't understand what a plain cheeseburger was.
So I'll counter to that. And I said, like, you think it sounds crazy, but here's the thing. I've been to enough restaurants where I'm just like, oh, just plain burger, meat and bun. And they come back and the whole rest of the burger is on the side, or the pickles are underneath the burger or on the side. And I'm just like, I look at them like I'm a crazy person. Because I'm just like, we went through this. I've gone to places where I'll have a 5-minute conversation explaining it to them how I like it. And they bring everything out not on a separate plate, which I could actually understand. Everything is right next to the burger as if I'm looking at it and be like, you know what?
So maybe you just need to say like, hey, I need a plain cheeseburger, no veggies. I have an allergy. And just say it like that.
I have. I literally tell people, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely allergic to pickles. And somebody once brought me a grilled cheese sandwich with the pickles like covering it. And I just looked at them. And they're like, do you remember what I told you? He's like, what? I'm definitely allergic to pickles. And he's like, oh.
Oh, wow.
That's really bad service. Like that's
yes, it is. It's 100% bad service.
Yeah, so that's really bad.
Obviously, I'm full of shit. But what if I wasn't?
I hope that server is watching this right now and feels vindicated.
I hope he is too. Go on down to Whistler's Pub.
Oh my god!
All right, let's jump into it. Tonight's kickoff statement is.
Oh, I lost it. Hold on. There you go.
Time to be depressed.
Wink Martindale will be perfect as the Eagles' new defensive coordinator. Agree or disagree? PY, lead us off here because I'm curious to see what you say.
So when it comes to defense, like I'm just like, I'm not the greatest defensive mind. Like he's different. I like where the mind frame is at going in right now, because for the last few times it's Fangio.
Mm-hmm.
And while I have like Martindale, he's very blitz heavy from what I've seen, and he's kind of creative, but like he might be a little too aggressive, and I think a lot of Eagles fans might like him because they blitz. So we don't really know what we're going to get out of him. But the way I look at it is this excites me that they're interested in someone like Wink Martindale. There's a few other guys they're interested in right now, and the one thing they have in common is not a single one of them is from a Fangio system. And what that says to me is they've looked at it and they're no longer going to be stuck to that system. I'm not saying they're not going to go out and hire someone from Fangio's system, but it's showing creativity. It's showing the fact that they've seen the error of their ways and they're going to look elsewhere. They're going to take the handcuffs off and they're just going to broaden their search. It's the same thing where it was with offense last year. They did not broaden anything. They were stuck in their ways. And the worst thing you can be as a football team is stuck in your ways. Because when you're stuck in the mud, you're just going to be sinking faster and faster, a.k.a. exactly what we saw from this defense this year. Do I think he's a perfect coordinator? I would disagree with that just because we don't really know what we're going to get with him. Like, we could be getting a much better product in terms of the aggressiveness, or it can end up biting us in the butt, like with other defensive coordinators. Like, Patricia was supposed to be aggressive, but he was just stupid. Like, so do I think he's going to be perfect? I don't think he's perfect. I don't think there probably is a perfect defensive coordinator out there right now. But what I do love, my favorite thing right now, is that they're willing to take a look at other options out there and not have their eyes stuck on only one type of system, because it hasn't worked so much in the last few years. And I just want to look elsewhere. Like, I don't want to. Repetition is the killer of everything. Like, if you don't adapt, you die. Like, and that's, if you have a football team, especially a defensive team, that's not adapting, you're not getting better and you're not improving, and your players are going to stay exactly the way they are.
All right, so I'll go. I disagree to the poll, and one of the reasons I disagree to the poll is kind of what you said as well. But I would venture to say, just based off what you said, I think you do know what you're getting with Wink Martindale. You're going to get pressure. He would be the perfect DC for the Philadelphia fan as far as what they would see as far as pressure and bringing blitz rate, right? They would love to see it because they think if we see that on the screen, then it's effective. At least we're trying. But I will say this: I already saw one that says that Martindale's system is a little outdated. I don't know the full reason why, but the Ravens moved on from him, and the defense got better with Mike McDonald. So I'm not sitting here saying that Martindale's bad. He would definitely be. Let me preface by saying this: he would be an upgrade over He would be an upgrade over Desai and Patricia, especially when Patricia didn't have the tools that he wanted to work with on defense. He was coming in trying to make round squares fit, round things fit square holes. This is not going to work. But I say that to say this: Martindale would be better, but the personnel still needs to marriage that as well. Still needs to go ahead and get better as well. Now, I will say Martindale, Caldwell, Rivera, all the names we've heard so far on the DC side are ones who have a veteran's presence, and also can coach up younger talent. Bobby Okereke played through countless injuries and didn't miss a snap. Also smacked Jalen Hurts in the face in week 18. I mean, over at Tush Push, and nothing happened, right? So you get that type of above expectation play where Martindale may have something to do, and then the coaching staff that comes with Martindale, right? His best, like one of his right-hand men is a linebackers coach. So obviously we have to get some sort of talent, but maybe the linebacker coaching will be better throughout, right? So I get it. I want to just preface by saying, like, we can't stray so far from the norm just because it's not a Fangio scheme, just to then do something just because it's not happy with it, right? It's cool to sit here and say, hey, well, because they are looking at this, which is so far left from where they went right, all right, I'm cool. They always can be thinking about it. And what they like last year, they interviewed Denard Wilson. They interviewed the DC from you bring them up all the time, PY Jesse Minter.
Jesse Minter.
They interviewed the DC from the University of Georgia, Glenn Schulman.
Jim
So
Leonard.
they have these things to where they have these thoughts initially, but ultimately what they do, their comfortability level, they settle on something that they're familiar with. So this is where they have to just down at this point. It didn't work last year. Push yourself through that little uneasiness that you have when you start out in this process and make a decision, right? So I think they're headed in the right direction. I don't think, for me personally, Wink is the right guy.
Yeah.
Now, he would be a motivated guy because he didn't leave the Giants because he generally wanted to leave the Giants. He left the Giants because Dable fired his right-hand man. But I will also say, like I said it again, I'll say it again. Mike Macdonald succeeded Martindale in Baltimore. And now that defense is even better. Now, I will say this, the pressure rate in the defensive line isn't as prevalent, but on the back end, it's and they don't, I mean, they still kind of blitz a little bit, but it's not to the rate that Martindale was doing it, right? I mean, I'm off on Mike Caldwell. He was just in Jacksonville. I mean, I don't know what the disconnect was there. I have more interest out of those three names, Martindale, Caldwell, and Rivera. Give me Rivera. Give me Rivera.
So I don't hate Ron Rivera. Like, I think it's an interesting concept. He's been here before. He's well respected. The players would like him. And I see a lot of people, because they bring this up all the time, and I'll just finish so Chucks can go. I see it all the time to where they're like, oh, the defense was really bad this year. What are you talking about? It was a fire sale. Like, they had a year prior, they had a really good defense because they had a really stacked D-line. They had an overall good defensive team, and they had success. The offense was complete crap, but that's not 100% his fault. Like, him coming into this team, you have a solid defensive team. Like, it's not perfect. You can still make additions and go out and find things to make it better.
Right.
But I think they would play for him. I don't think they would quit on him like they quit on Sean Desai or Matt Patricia.
I don't think they quit on Desai as well, but I'll save that for when we come back around after Chuck's answers the kickoff statement.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly disagree to the poll. I know you touched on it, Pete. I know he's a very popular name that Eagles fans want really bad because he blitzes, he attacks, he's aggressive. Blitz heavy scheme, obviously. We know he probably blitzes more than any other defensive coordinator in the league. And he plays man coverage, plays press. And that's like the polar opposite of what we've seen out of our defense the past couple years. So that's fans, similar to what PY said, like they want, like, they're so tired of Fangio scheme and playing conservative that they want the opposite, just for the sake of opposite. And I understand that. I understand, like, change and wanting something new and fresh, but I'm not going to pick someone just for change's sake. You know what I mean? Like, I said this to you guys before in the chat. When PY mentioned that he wants to get away from the Fangio scheme, like, the Fangio scheme is not going anywhere. You can, like, there was an article that PY sent about, like, the Fangio disciples and how they haven't had success. Well, there's context that's missed in that article, a lot of stuff. So, like, if you look throughout the league, almost every defense is using Fangio concepts right now. They are. It's a too high world in today's league because defenses need to take away the explosive passing plays. So a lot of these things that Fangio is responsible for, almost every team is using them. So it's going to be hard to find a defensive coordinator that is modern that's not going to use some sort of Fangio type of philosophy. So it's not about finding a scheme, guys. It's like scheme is part of it. I'm not going to say it totally is irrelevant, but like, what's important is finding a guy who's going to be able to execute and teach their said scheme at a high level and deploy the pieces that he has on defense the right way. That's what you want to look for in a DC. The scheme is irrelevant as long as you have a good DC who knows how to do that. With Wink Martindale, a lot of stuff you said, Pete, is applies. Now, what I worry about, and this kind of goes along with why I have concerns about bringing in Rivera too, is I'm worried that they are outdated. Like, I know that Rob Povia from Hockey Happy Hour, he mentioned it before, and I'll try to bring up his comment. You got so he actually said it's outdated, and if you're wondering, like, what do you mean by outdated? So in today's league, what is prevalent in today's league? What's the biggest trend and fad, in terms of offensive scheme? What do you think of, what's the major, what's in, what offensive scheme is in?
I mean,
What
if
do
you
you
hear
think?
like Fangio's scheme, when you look at defense, offense wise, it's everything is the Shanahan tree now, this McVay
Okay.
tree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what's
So
trendy right now.
that's in, right? That's in, right? So when you have that, the Shanahan McVay tree, whatever you want to call it, that type of scheme, what they do a lot of is motion, confusion, right? But they they test your rules on defense and make you pay for those rules because they know it. So one of the big things that people, I don't know if people know about, one of the reasons why I love Kyle Shanahan as an offensive mind is because in his background, what he did was he thoroughly studied and learned the defensive side of the ball. Not all offensive coaches do that. He did when he was, I think, was it Denver or Washington? Early in his career, he spent a lot of time in defensive meeting rooms to learn their rules so that he could break those rules. Okay, so when you talk about a Kyle Shanahan type of offense, those, you could talk about, before he was a lot of outside zone. Now he mixes a lot of gap scheme, right, and confusion. It is that at its essence and core, it's testing the rules of the defense and breaking them, right, whether it be with motion, personnel, whatsoever. On the defensive side, if you're talking about a modern defense, you're talking about the opposite of that. The counteract of that is testing the offensive's rules and then breaking them, making them break. Nate Tice provided a really good example of this, and it was from the Ravens Texans game this past week. And Pete, you mentioned how when they moved on from Wink Martindale and went to Mike Macdonald, now the defense is better. Something that Mike Macdonald will do is he'll stack up five across the line, or you have a 5-man surface on your defense, and automatically as an offense, you see a 5-man surface, you think that all of them are coming, automatically you're going to go 5-0 or on in terms of protection. And what I mean by that is it's man on a man. You're slide to one side. You're manning up to each lineman has a defensive lineman that they're responsible for. Right now, you have that 6th defender coming to the box. Right, and now that running back that's in the backfield is responsible for that off-ball defender. Okay, so you had 5 on the line, and the running back in protection is responsible for the off-ball defender. What does Mike Macdonald like to do? So what did he do to confuse and mess with the Texans? He sent 4 defensive linemen and sent the off-ball guy. So the running back, now you have 6 in protection, but you only have 5 defenders coming, right? That is now, as an offense, you're already -1 out in space, out in the passing strength. Mm-hmm. So who did Mike Macdonald drop back into coverage? Well, what is the usual rule when you talk about hot routes, right? The usual rule is when the defense blitzes, you throw to the vacant, you throw to the vacant space, right? Well, Mike Macdonald, he dropped, I forget what defender it was. I think it was it Clowney? It might have been Clowney. He dropped Clowney into coverage into that vacated space because he knew that was the rule of the offense. So because of that, Stroud had to hang on to the ball, couldn't pull the trigger, had to bail out the pocket and try to make something, outside the pocket, extend the play. So that's an example of what a modern defense does. They mix things up. It's about disguising, right? Disguising coverages, confusing the offense, and bending the rules in a way where what the offense has, how the offense has to counter. And then the defense is going to be able to stop that by predicting what the offense is going to do. When you have a guy like Ron Rivera, when you have a guy like Wink Martindale, they don't we haven't seen them do that kind of stuff. And Jim Schwartz is another one. Great DC, but he runs his stuff, right? Like that's his scheme. He's going to run it. They're going to line up and do it. And I know that, back with, I think who was it? Brian Urlacher had said before, back in the day, 20 years ago, when they had that great defense of the Bears, what did they ran 3 to 5 plays and that they just lined up and played, right? That's old. That's
Legion of Boom did the same thing.
Legion of Boom did the same thing. They only a few defensive calls and they just lined up and played. That worked before. That's not how defenses work now because of Kyle Shanahan, because of the innovative stuff like what Andy Reid does too. Like I don't care so much about scheme. I want a defensive coordinator that is going to be modern and know how to counteract that. Like that's why I have question marks about
what you're
Dan
saying.
Quinn.
Like what you're saying is not that far fetched. It's like when you heard about Rivera, Caldwell, Martindale, you heard about those guys when they were younger and the game was changing. Now this is why if you look at not so much the offensive side, but if you look at the defensive side, like these Jesse Minter, like Jesse Minter, like Glenn Schulman, like Mike McDonald, these guys are young. These guys are the ones who are coming up while Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur, Callahan, O'Connell, what's the head coach of Cincinnati's name? Zach Taylor. When you talk about Stefanski, all those guys on the offensive side, right? So you got McDonald, Minter, all them. They're on the defensive side. Salah, put him in there. D'Amico, put him in there. So you got these dudes. Like now, this is this generation. Here's the biggest thing. I would want to go in that direction. You need to go in that direction. Here's the problem. You have a better chance of going. This is what I would say for the coordinators yourself. Go give me the next cutting edge DC, because that DC is going to have a harder time in this day and age in the NFL becoming a head coach, because offensive gurus are now generally head coaches, right? So that's where you can build stability at. And then over there on the OC side, give me the veteran, because here's the thing. I need that veteran, not so much to stick around, but just to kind of set that tone, right? And that discipline. I saw the name Al Harris. Ryan, I can't say your last name, Ryan, but he's a Cowboys fan. Here's the one thing I would say about Ryan, about Al Harris, right? Is
thanks for tuning in, Ryan, by the way.
That back seven, great. I don't know what he's going to bring for overall, his concept of an overall defense. That's the difference. Where like it's different with Denard Wilson. Denard Wilson, he was a DC before. He took a step back to come here as a DB's coach, then made the lateral move to Baltimore after whatever happened here, right? So I don't know. Like I think if I had Martindale on my staff, if Rivera on my staff, I think Martian said, is he still healthy enough to coach? I think all the cancer stuff was cleared up, right?
Yeah.
So
he's good.
Even he wouldn't do it. The Eagles they can't just sell you on the title of a position. Like they have to sell you on something, especially guys like that. I would love, you always hear about this stuff too. Like you all go find another ex, go see. Maybe Luke Kuechly don't want to play. Obviously, he don't want to play no more. See if he'll be a coach. Play like Al Harris probably wasn't even thought of. I'll give you a trigger mind. Like you would see it with Greg Lewis, right? Greg Lewis was tied to Andy's hip the whole time. Bet your bottom dollar if they go OC and they go Eric Bieniemy, Greg Lewis gonna be on that staff. You can kind of that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what you need. You need it's not just the guy that's running the whole system, it's also the guys underneath as well.
Yep. Yeah, the succession.
I don't think that gets looked at enough. Yeah. And I will say this, even in the Tampa Bay game last Monday night, there were players that the scheme had in position to make plays. Plays just were not made. Now, I'm not saying that holds true to all the games in the collapse that we saw. I'm specifically speaking to Monday night, the January 15th Martin Luther King Day. James Bradley was in position to tackle Dre Palmer.
Yep.
David Moore, there was guys around him to make a play, so he would not shake loose and score a touchdown. Plays just weren't made. But now there's things that build to that, right? But ultimately, there you go. Yes, that's Brian Flores, another one.
Brian Flores, yep. Brian Flores.
Gives you all different types of looks where it's great. It's great if the scheme doesn't have to be complex because you just got so much talent. But it's very like you can't go out and build a defense like San Fran did now from scratch. If you can, it's going to be 2, 3, 4. It's going to be 2, 3, 4 years away.
It's going to take a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while. So that's just not going to happen. So you're not going to be stacked at every level like that.
No.
So you have to have coaching, execution, and talent. You got to have a marriage. You got to have a marriage of all that. I will say this too. Speaking about the modern game, Howie's and Jeffrey's philosophy will have to change somewhat.
Yep.
Where you can't not just discredit safeties and linebackers now.
Like
if out of anything from this season on the defensive side of the ball, I'm not sitting here saying like, look, have a complete course correct, and then go ahead and start drafting every linebacker, safety first, second. Not saying that, but you cannot not have a plan, because safeties and linebackers really is the backbone to your, and corners is the backbone to your defense. You need, like, if you look at all four teams that's left now. All four teams that's left now, they back sevens in the top half. Oh, maybe not Detroit, but their safeties and Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, first. I think Jack Campbell was a first or second round pick. I know
First round pick.
First
2
round
years
pick.
ago, Kansas City didn't have a lot of picks, and they started the Trent McDuffie draft. They were drafted corners and safeties, and then they still went out and got Juan Thornhill.
They also got Nick Bolton in the second round. So
So they invested damn near a whole draft, and it paid off. And they still kept doing it, because if you got, here's the one thing I would say, even with the offense being so vanilla as it was, a lot of times they were still putting up 25, 20, 28, 31 points. Like they lost the game to the Cardinals 35-31.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? You need to stop here and there. So I don't think Jordan Davis is a bust. I don't think Jalen Carter obviously is not a bust.
He's going to be rookie of the year.
Nakobe Dean's just whatever he got to figure out with himself. But I'm not willing to. You can't. How can I say this? On the defensive side, I'm not giving up on the talent yet and calling people bust when the captain running the ship of the defense didn't have a clue. Now, I won't say didn't have a clue, didn't cater to their strengths.
Nope.
Like I would say, like the one thing Greg Williams, I know we shared it in the off screen, right? Greg Williams has said you had coaches coaching to what they know, not to what their personnel did well.
Yeah.
Now there has to be a marriage of both of those. You see what I'm saying? And we also heard the story talk about Sirianni this season in practice. He was more vocal. He was correcting a lot. And this is the coach of Sirianni where he think he can save it. And at this point, they should have just felt like, all right, listen, we need to cut ties now because this ain't working. Like, I get it. I'm not trying to put another coach out. I asked you to come here, or however you got here. You seen it happen. Ken Dorsey was in Buffalo for years. Under Dable. They transitioned to OC.
Cut him. They're just like,
and look what they should be playing this weekend, but they're not. But look how far they got. They got further than the Eagles did.
Yep.
They look better than the Eagles did. So
they didn't even hesitate. They didn't even hesitate. They're just like, well,
I'll give you a name that Hugh Douglas brought up.
Oh,
that's been out of the game for a while. And but I think he's still relevant to a point. And but even though he didn't coach this year, and that's Leslie Frazier.
That's actually not a crazy idea.
It's not a crazy idea.
And I'm not. He's a retread. He will be a retread coach. He was on the coaching cycle before he left Buffalo. Took this year off. You see what I'm saying? That would be somebody else who's kind of like not super outdated, still kind of relevant, but coaches hard and coaches. And he met his players like when he was there in Buffalo. Those defenses were smart, even though it was zone coverage. They were smart, and I won't say they disguised a lot. They weren't super vanilla. They weren't.
No Rex Ryan. No Rex Ryan.
They definitely no. But they definitely knew what they did, and they knew what they did well, and they knew their roles. And you saw that a lot of times with our defense, they didn't have an understanding.
They were just like they're
what
figuring
their
it out.
assignments were where they needed to be, and especially when you had the changing of the guard like that with younger players. You know what I mean?
Structure.
It's not a recipe for success.
So, in terms of like safeties and linebackers, because I keep seeing people bring this up all the time. It's like, well, this is why we got to draft them early, and I'm like, in the first round, and I'm like, I'm not saying that's a crazy concept, but people keep bringing up like San Francisco. They're like, well, look at what San Francisco did. San Francisco found 2 stud linebackers in the 3rd and 5th round. Like, Patrick Queen is awesome. Everyone forgets that, like, they were literally ready to trade him in the offseason because they still weren't sure what he was going to be. And what was he there for almost 5 years, right?
Is that 5 years going now? Wow, that's
Patrick
a long time.
Queen?
Something like that. It's something around 5 years.
a lot of these
they
guys,
haven't re-signed him either.
No, they haven't. I'm pretty sure they were about to decline his 5th-year option. I'm not 100% sure on that. But my whole point with that is, like, it's not so much that you have to draft them in the 1st round. It's so much to you have to go out and get them. If you see someone in the 2nd round that you are in love with, like you think can really impact your defense, go out and get him. You see a blue chip guy you think could be there in the 5th, go out and get him. Like, whatever. Like you went out and you got Sidney Brown in the 3rd round. Like, you took a chance on that. I'm 100% fine with taking a chance on guys like that. You need more safeties. You can't just be like, look, I love Reed Blankenship. I think Reed Blankenship was a Pro Bowl safety this year who just did not make the Pro Bowl, which sucks. But you're not going to get those guys. You are not every year. You're not going to get blue chip guys as undrafted free agents. You need to draft guys. I don't love 1st round linebackers because they're either hit or miss. I'd be more willing to take a look at 1st round safeties because the track record is just better. Like, I keep seeing people hammer this home. And they're like, oh, you got to do it this way. And I'm like, no, you don't have to force yourself into do it. If you feel comfortable with something, do it. But, like, it needs to be consistent. Like, you have to consistently go out and try and get these guys. Like, the $2 million linebacker off the street, it's just not doing it anymore.
No.
It's just it's not. Like Zach Cunningham was really good. Morrow was good in the 1st half, and then he completely crapped out. Like, and that just kind of shows like that is not working. Like, and obviously a lot of the issues we had at safety this year kind of stem from the fact that the safety room was supposed to be Reed Blankenship and CJ. Like, that was supposed to be your safety room. But that didn't end up happening because his agent is an other moron.
Well, it's not just his agent. I understand. And also some of that is on Howie, too. It was naive, the naivety to think that you can lose literally everything up the middle of your offense, of your defense, and think that you were going to get similar results. And the coordinator who ran it. That's I mean, now that you look back on it, hindsight is everything, right? But if you really tell yourself, okay, so they lose the starting safeties, 2 of their starting linebackers, and they lost the coordinator, and they lost one of the D tackles. But yet we expect the defense to not, I wouldn't say be as good as it was last year, right? I wouldn't say that. But, I mean, you would expect the defense to kind of be somewhere in the middle of the pack, maybe anywhere between the 16th to 20th ranked defense overall. You definitely didn't expect them to be one of the worst, the bottom, like Billy Davis bad. You know what I mean? And the last 7 weeks of the season, they were Billy Davis bad. You know what I mean?
So they're horrible, yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't think anybody saw that, but at the same time, you can sit here and say like, yeah, like you lose your 2 starting safeties, you lose 2 of your 3 starting linebackers, and you lose you lose a Pro Bowl level defensive tackle. And like I said, and the brain trust behind it. And not only the coordinator became a head coach, but your linebackers coach left, your D-backs coach left. Like, you got to look at these position coaches as well, who not to say Gannon necessarily took with them, but who weren't here from the coaching staff last year. And that's
linebacker coach,
right now. Coach. I get it. We're sitting here as bystanders. We're sitting here as fans. You know what I mean? We got the fan rocking with us, right? But I can understand how we missed it, right? But how did Howie not think about it? How did Nick not think about it? You know what I mean? Like, how the people in the building who y'all eat, this is your job. Like, how did y'all miss that signal? How did that signal get jammed in your brain to where it's like, hey, maybe we may not want to do this. Maybe we want to bring 1 or 2 of these guys back and really make an effort. You know what I mean? Like, really, really, really make an effort. Because the only thing I can say that they thought is that once they paid Jalen the $255 million, they really, really thought that he could play above the offense to the point where it could play above the deficiencies on defense. That's the only thing I can think of. And they can just score more points. So now that you can't, like, you gotta have some balance, man.
Yep.
If anything, this offseason proved this season proved going into the offseason next year, before you take that field week 1, 2024 to 2025 NFL season, you gotta have some balance. There has to be marriage of not just offense, defense, but it has to be marriage on coverage and rush, the whole nine. And you have to get the right people in here that can put that game plan together, and not only put it together but execute it. So, we want to pay some bills real quick.
Let's get to some more comments. Yeah, about
okay.
We'll answer some more comments about the defense. So, Marcus, Pro Fan Talk. What up, Marcus? He just asked, do we want to explore going to a 3-4 defense?
Definitely something multiple.
Here's the thing. Like, I think that the whole 4-3-3-4 is kind of outdated because people play in nickel way too, like, defense is playing nickel. Like, you're gonna mix it up anyway. You're gonna have standing outside linebackers anyways. So I don't think like the 3-4-4-3 thing is always like, I think it's a little outdated. I know there still would be some adjustments if you were going to a defensive coordinator that likes to play a nose tackle, but we do have a nose tackle. We have a nose tackle that we drafted in the freaking, what was it, 14th, 15th overall? 14th? So we have one. We could make the switch if you wanted to play different alignments, having them play more like, the 3 technique for the defensive ends, and so on and so forth. But I don't think it'd be that. It's not like it was. When did Chip come here? Like 10 years ago? Like 10 years ago.
10 years ago. That's crazy.
That was 10 years ago when we went to Billy Davis. It was such a huge switch because that's how defenses work. But I think in today's NFL, modern defenses, it's more gray now between 4-3 and 3-4 because everything is in nickel. Ryan
like
also
now have to be chameleons. You have to be a chameleon.
Yep. Yeah. Ryan also says you need to find players in later rounds and UDFAs that become contributors to your defense. That's how good teams stay good, especially with the big contracts for Hurts and others. Yeah, they don't have and good thing for how we end this. Our scouts and our draft who's in charge? I'm drawing a blank. The people in charge, everyone in charge.
You mean
of
the like the head of pro personnel, player personnel?
No, for college scouting, like the whole scout, the whole scouting room.
You mean like the head of the scout team?
The scout team, the scout team for the draft and everything. They've been good. Our scouting room has been good at drafting on day 3. We've had really success drafting day 3. So I think I'm not really too worried about that aspect of it, but it's absolutely true. We need to be able to build depth with those type of picks.
And then here's the thing: Howie needs to listen because they can. Yeah. I can honestly 100% unequivocally tell you by round day 3, round 4, round 5, they probably have a safety or corner on their board ranked higher, and then Howie's doing. Well, this is what we believe in. This is how we build our team, and then you see that player go off. Yeah, and then that player is probably still in the league, maybe playing this weekend.
Well, last year, good thing they did trade up for Ringo because he saw that they saw that he fell. So we did look out in that regard. And then one more question, that's actually for the defense. So let's pay some bills, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
We will be back right after these messages.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, proudly celebrating 40 years and our new, bigger showroom.
Twice the size and twice the fun.
More pool tables by Olhausen. More dartboard sets, including custom reclaimed backboards. More bar and kitchen stools that can change a room.
And more bars, including pre-built and custom.
Hot tubs, skee ball, shuffleboard, outdoor,
and fun.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, your ultimate game room store. Now located on Bethlehem Pike in Colmar.
In our family, food is our daily bond. My Nonna, affectionately called Mama by many, found solace and joy in the kitchen, sharing our love through delicious creations. She turned her culinary passion into a flourishing business alongside her husband and sons in 1983. Celebrating 40 years is a testament to our exceptional team, friends, family, and beloved customers. With gratitude, we look forward to the future, expanding our brand to share the highest quality Italian food and wine nationwide. Our heartfelt thanks to everyone who has played a part in our story. Grazie mille.
All right, so
Hats.com is the premier destination for quality and fashion-forward hats and more, with designs for every style and trend. Locally based and run by Philly sports team fanatics, Hats.com can help you elevate your hat John. Utilize the easy-to-use guides at Hats.com to find your perfect size and style, and shipping and returns are free. Hats.com. Find yourself in a hat. Use code Philly for 15% off your order. Hats.com.
shout out to all our sponsors over here at A2D Radio, Royal Billiards, Hats.com, Carlino's, the trifecta right now. They've been rocking with us for a while. We appreciate your support. Go show them some love. They'll definitely love your patronage. Like we always say, go buy a pool table or a hot spa, eat some chicken cutlets in a hot tub, and wear a hat. Promo code Philly 15%. There you go. All right. Before we transition to around the league, we saw the report a little before we came on air. I saw the name already. So there is interest in one Cliff Kingsbury for the Eagles OC position, who he also interviewed for the Bears OC position, but got passed over for Shane Waldron, which I'm curious to see where. I guess that is coming to fruition that like John Snyder and all that. I think is that still the GM in Seattle?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
And so they got a vision of who they want there for Waldron to be out. So with Kingsbury, I'm kind of intrigued a little if he's learned. I'm not completely out. I'm not completely sold. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. Just to kind of see if he's learned from his previous experience in his time in the NFL, going down to USC, being under Lincoln Riley, having Caleb Williams there, to kind of see where we'll be at. Just the marriage of what Nick's somewhat scheme, if you will call it that, his philosophy and how that would work throughout. But also that's another one. I think if they have success, we may be in this position 2 or 3 years later, trying to replace the OC again, which is cool. Things come with that, right? You have to evolve. I think PY, you were down with the idea. Is that correct?
I just like I see some people like it, some people don't, but I'm just like, where we're at right now, we're not in a position to say no to anybody. I'm not saying don't say yes to anyone who shows up. I'm saying we're not in a position to just be like, no, we're too good. We don't need this. After what we went through with Brian Johnson this season, I'm willing to take a look at just about everyone until we're able to find the right person. Like, here's the thing.
He turned into Shallow Hal for the offensive coordinator position.
Exactly, Shallow Hal. Everyone gets a look. Everyone gets a look, man.
Oh, my God.
Gotta look deep inside. No, like, look, Kingsbury, however you say it, has had success in college. He's had success in the NFL. Like, he's worked with Johnny Manziel. He's worked with Baker Mayfield. He's worked with Patrick Mahomes. He's worked with Caleb Williams. You know,
how well they do.
They had success in his system. We've seen he got Kyler Murray like massively paid. Like, I think a lot of the issues that happened in Arizona stem from. I don't think
because he this was the first year he wasn't the coach, right?
Yep,
So
yeah, he was offensive assistant.
No, yeah. So I mean, but I'm talking. If you look at early last year, or was it the year before, where they started off real hot and they kind of fizzled out. So they had some things. There was something there. But here's the thing. For me, I think there's talent there as a coach. I'm putting stock in it that if they feel as if that his scheme or he has evolved somewhat and his philosophy. Kind of the same thing that we're hoping that the Eagles do overall and overarching. I'm not to the point where I'm PY like, hey, like if you can call plays and you have offensive coordinator experience, come interview the job. Like this isn't an offensive coordinator open house. Like we're not. We're not.
Like, I don't even think it's like that.
This isn't a coaching fair. This isn't a coach's job fair.
But you're not being let into the building if they don't value you a little bit. They're not just being like, oh my God, you're on the street. You want to come in and interview for offensive coordinator?
But that's the thing. It may not. We don't know how validated reports are. So I'm kind of somewhere in the middle from where you are. Like you're all gung ho, and then I want Chucks to explain because I'm also not where Chucks is at as well. I'm curious to hear what he has already said, but to hear for him to get out on this platform out there for the public masses. Kingsbury, yay or nay, Chucks?
So I should have pulled up what I sent the screenshot, but if anyone's listening, if you go to my Twitter, I did post it. If you want AJ Brown to stay on one side of the field and run just such vanilla routes again, then sure, go with Kingsbury. If you want Devontae Smith not to be used in motion and all of our wide receivers just stay in one spot and continue not to use motion across the field and move them around, then sure, you might be interested in Kingsbury. If you want more of the same spread offense, empty formations, basic routes, then Cliff Kingsbury is for you. If you want screens galore, wide receiver screens galore, that might again be used ad nauseum, Cliff Kingsbury is your guy. Like to me, the whole time, like from the way I see this new OC, what they have to do, they have to be able to come in, and this is the longest. They have to be able to come in
to the point
and help Sirianni expand what his system will be. You have to be able to say, hey, here are some new principles. Here are some new concepts. Let's mix it up. That's what the OC has to be able to do. That's what we're looking for. We don't need the same stuff. If you bring Cliff Kingsbury into this team as offense coordinator, that tells me that they're just willing to do the same stuff over and over, because there's nothing that he does outside of maybe running back screens that tells me, yeah, this system's going to look a lot different. There's a comment here by Raymond Rivera. He says, I want to see Hurts more under center. I'm tired of him in shotgun every play, and the screens on third and long with our no OC. Then you do not want Cliff Kingsbury, because he's not going to put the quarterback under center. I think we all agree we want to see more under center, more pistol, expand that, like put more play action, more bootleg. Yeah, if we want that, then we shouldn't want Cliff Kingsbury. And I understand that, maybe coordinators can change. They can learn. But that's cool if you are a rebuilding team and looking for a coordinator like that. We are not a rebuilding team. We are, hey, we need to win now. So we need someone who's going to absolutely know what they're doing. Okay, we need someone who's going to 100% sure is going to bring new stuff to this offense. And if someone else wants to hire Cliff Kingsbury because they feel that he can change and improve and learn from what he was, sure, that's great for Cliff Kingsbury elsewhere. Don't want him here. I do not want him here, because there's no evolution of the offense if he comes here. It's all the similar stuff that we've been seeing, and I don't want that. And so and PY, you talk about he's had success. He had Patrick Mahomes. What did that Texas Tech team do? They weren't really a good team. They weren't. It doesn't matter. Like Patrick Mahomes, like cool. Like you have Patrick Mahomes. You can't get more out of him than what he was. Like the most success he's had was Kyler Murray in Arizona. But again, that ended badly. Like they didn't. Kyler Murray got paid. He was MVP front runner for the first 10 or 11 games of that season. But then after that, it was all downhill. And that you saw, I literally just had on Twitter a Cardinal fan just replied to my post, and he said, as a Cardinals fan, you should be begging Howie not to hire this man. He does not elevate talent. He only does well when your players are more talented than your opponents. He can't adjust when you lose players to injury, and he can't adjust to when he gets schemed up. Does that sound awfully familiar? That sounds just what we just went through. So, yes, this is why I'm adamant about not hiring Cliff Kingsbury, because nothing would change. And if they hire him, that tells me everything I need to know about this whole hiring process, that they're not going to get better.
So I disagree with that. Like, the Eagles have actually had good track record when it comes to hiring offensive coordinators outside of the building. Like, the last two guys they hired outside of the building, Frank Reich and Shane Steichen. Like, and we had massive success with those guys. If the Eagles go out and they get Cliff Kingsbury, they've shown me enough, at least when they're hiring outside of the organization, that they're putting extra thought into it. Like, when we just said, you know what, maybe it's Brian Johnson. It's going to be Brian Johnson all day. Like, they just assumed he was going to be better. Like, do I think Kingsbury is going to get the job? I don't. But if they go out and they hire him, I think there's enough thought process and there's into that concept of bringing him in there. Like,
yeah, sorry, I'm not putting faith in blindly saying, oh, they know what they're doing. I'm going to base my opinion and take on what I see from what I've seen on film of Cliff Kingsbury. So that's where we differ. I've seen enough of what Cliff Kingsbury is as an offensive schemer to say, hell no.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, with the OC, I just did as you guys were talking, I'm following, I'm listening. I mean, Clint Kubiak is probably somebody I would give a look at before Cliff Kingsbury. The Kubiak last name, that should tell you it's Gary Kubiak's son. He's right now he's a 49ers passing game coordinator. The previous passing game coordinator did pretty well in Houston with Bobby Slowick, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Mike McDowell before that.
Give you another name.
Mike McDaniel for that. Sorry.
T. Martin, currently the Ravens quarterbacks coach. You have a mobile quarterback. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things. We've heard the name Jim Bob Cooter. I don't like the name. It sounds like, I can say this. He may have had a plantation somewhere down in the South.
My God.
I just don't know. You know what I mean? So, but there's also Garrett Riley out of Clemson. I think they have more options offensively. But here's the thing, and we kind of just said this, right? The trendy thing is not trendy, but I think two-high safety fan drill scheme has been around for a while, but it's just the concept still hold true. Trendy thing is right now with Shanahan's offense, and they kind of build upon it. And they kind of all put their own different things on it. Hell, the Packers should have won the game on Saturday, and they were looking better because Purdy new addition, can't stand the rain. Purdy really can't stand the rain, and it's supposed to rain again on Sunday. But I say that to say this. Maybe Howie and Jeff, like to PY's point, they're always looking to be innovative with the offense, right? Maybe they're already looking, okay, maybe we have a guy who has this somewhat kind of base, but then they're looking for a coach that has the next trend. What's the next trend, right? And we all heard them say, like we heard Jimmy Johnson say, like Sirianni's offense isn't complex, and what they do is hard to stop. But once you stop it, they don't have anything else to go to. So let's just say you come in, you add some wrinkles so you can zag when they start to zig. And then when they do that, then you go back to the shit that your core is, and you know that will work because then you have multiple. You don't know what, then you're not as predictable, right? So I think any one of these litany options could be better. I know we even talked about on here like a Jim Caldwell, something like that. I don't know, guys like that may be so far removed, and just from the quarterback style of play that you have, where most of these quarterbacks who are at the top of the game, at the top of the league, are dual threat somewhat or have some sort of athletic mobility to escape pressure. I just don't know what those guys bring to the table, but you take that risk on, hey, listen, if we go with a guy who we're going to elevate, like a Clint Kubiak, once again, like a T. Martin, once again, like a Garrett, well, maybe Garrett Rice a little bit different. You know those guys, if they become the hot thing, especially after what I wouldn't say Jalen had a regression year, but I really think a couple months from now, when you look at the stats overall, you're going to see the year wasn't as bad as what you thought.
No,
but if he gets Jalen right again, that person's going to get a head coaching offer.
Yep.
And then you have to, this is where they have to start paying attention. Like, listen, all right, you're our OC. Who are you bringing off of your QB? Who are you bringing on as your QB's coach? Who's your run game coach? Who's your pass? That grooming needs to then go ahead.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Like that, there needs to start being emphasis in that NovaCare building, not just on the coordinator hires, but who their staff is as a whole. Yeah. Because if somebody moves on, that you need to have that person next to line of play. So you got to have that plan.
That's how Andy Reid was so successful in his regime. There was always like how many freaking people under him that got promoted from within that were still successful. Like that's part of it. Now that's only offensive side, but exactly to your point. And because when you brought that up weeks ago about like you wanted like a veteran who's not going to get poached after a year or two, that's totally completely fair. And it's a great point to make because that's always so scary. Like, are we going to keep having to rehire a new coordinator every single year? That's a concern. But then as long as you're able to build that line of succession and have guys underneath to promote from within to learn whatever scheme you do install and to just build upon it, and so you can keep a similar system, then that's how you're going to be able to withstand losing an offensive coordinator almost every 1 or 2 years. So I think like to remember what I said about scheme, like on the defensive side, it's not so much about scheme. Like what makes guys like the Kyle Shanahan's, Sean McVay's, and now even Matt LaFleur, you have to add Matt LaFleur in there because he's been doing a great job. What makes them great coaches and offensive mind? It's not a scheme anymore, right? Like I said, like Kyle Shanahan, what he was running back in 2019 with the outside zone stuff, and he's not running that anymore.
Nope. It's evolved.
It's evolved. So, and like you said earlier, Mike McDaniel in Miami, he doesn't run the same stuff as Kyle does. Like he puts his own sprinkle. But what at their core, what is it they all have similar? Is they know how to find mismatches. And I touched on this earlier in the show. They know how to stress the rules of a defense with different things like motion and different formations and lining people up in different spots. That's why they are as good as they are. Because whenever, like you said, whenever a defense will figure out one thing about their scheme, they're able to change it up and say, okay, you're attacking us this way. Now we're going to go and do it this way. That's why they're so good at what they do. And that's why they're going to be sticking around. Like those 4 coaches are great. And I think Bobby Slowick is going to be the next good one. That's kind of why I wanted someone from their tree. But yeah, like that's going to be very, very important to be able to have someone like that. To be able to have that line of succession, like you said. Matthew Walsh says Eric Bieniemy. I'd be down for Bieniemy.
Yeah. I'd have no issue with that. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Bieniemy.
I mean, at that point, then we got Ewan coming. So what? He technically doesn't have a job.
Yeah,
he interviewed for the head coaching job in Washington last week. I mean, at that point, listen, this is probably going to go. I would say go against everything I said. But if you settled me on 2 guys that already work together and have a working relationship with each other, and you give me Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy as your coordinators. Like, I mean, I don't know what it is about Bieniemy. I don't know.
I don't know.
I know he coaches tough. We all know how shady feels about Bieniemy.
He's not for everybody.
Yeah, I guess he's an acquired taste. Yep. But at the same time, he had Sam Howell and Terry McLaurin somehow, some fucking way was over 1,000 yards again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as to why he would come here, like, if you have success like Shane Steichen had success, like it doesn't matter like what your issue is, you're going to be a head coaching candidate. Like no matter what you do with Patrick Mahomes, like it doesn't matter if he won 6 straight Super Bowls with you as the coordinator. It's just Patrick Mahomes, and also it's Andy Reid. Like so, no one's going to be really looking at you. Like right. If he had like let's say they had major success this year in Washington, he would have been a serious head coaching candidate. but they were awful. Sam Howell was a turnover machine, and that's not 100% his fault. But if he came here and he had major success with Jalen Hurts, and that's another quarterback he had success with, people will look at him as a serious head coaching candidate. Like, that's exactly why you want to come here.
Yeah. Ryan does ask, what about bringing back Reich?
No.
How would you guys feel about Reich?
I'm not.
I would bring Chip Kelly back before
I need for where you committed your money at, and I think Swope said it. Is like you need a coordinator that's going to coach to Jalen's strengths. And I don't know if Reich is just different. And once again, it's not to sit here and say that like Frank Reich is a bad OC. I think he's more catered to be an OC versus being a head coach. It's just that you have to look at this offense as a whole, and you have to look at the personnel. When you come in as an OC or as a DC, we said it already. This is a theme of the night. Don't just coach to what you know. You have to know how to be multiple and know the personality. Like when you're interviewing this potential OC, what would you do with our offense? Like what would you do with our offense? This is put up film. This is the coverage here. How would you? And then you see it be stagnant. What would you have done? What would you have called? What would have been your game plan against week 13 against the Niners? What would have been your game plan? Add that to the DC too. Hell, I hope the meeting during the past weekend, Jeffrey Lurie sat Nick Sirianni down and said, "Hey, what was supposed to happen on this play? Who missed an assignment? What was like?" You got to have somebody to answer to that. It got to have accountability, right? So Nick has to have it for what is already transpired. But now these OCs and the DCs that you're going to hire now, they have to lay out a plan to show you what to work with the roster that you have. You could be off. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need that. You need tools to be able to do the job. But you got to have that formulated outlook to correct what went wrong here. You got to have a plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see. It's very intriguing. It's not a bad spot to be. I mean, the defense, if you're a defensive coordinator, especially if you're going to be a first-time defensive coordinator, you really can mold this into the thing that you want. You know what I mean? But Howie has to work with them, and Nick has to work with them, and Nick's going to have to go to bat. Like, hey, like, we need some linebackers for this guy. You know what I mean? Like, we need something. We can't be deficient at every level.
Yep.
We can't just throw everything caution to the wind. You know what I mean? So, and then on the offensive side, it's like, listen, like look at our offensive line. This may be Lane's last year. Jason, we don't know if Kelsey's coming back. The shirtless bearded one. We don't know if he's coming back. You know what I mean? So there's still talent and substance there. You don't know what you're going to do. That's the biggest question we're being talked about right now. Like, who the hell's the running back next year? You know what I mean? Like who's our lead back next year? We're not talking about that.
Kenny Gainwell.
I hope Swift comes back. I don't know.
So you're not talking about that. You know what I mean? So and then you're going to be. This is what you going to be in. Not this year, but next year you got to pick up the 5th-year option. May have to rework AJ's contract. You may. I mean, I already said I want Devontae over AJ every day of the week. But at the same time, you got to start looking at tight end replacements. Goddard's getting up there. So there's things that have to be addressed, right? But you got to figure out who is going to be those voices and those leaders on both sides of the ball. And then Nick now, I don't even call Nick an offensive coach. Nick is just a coach. Yep. Because I saw Marsha said, or Don or somebody said, one who's had Nick call the plays. Nick doesn't want to call plays. Nope. He doesn't want that responsibility. He feels as if his end game, all his skills need to be focused on handling end game, not so much even adjustments, but the flow of the game, challenges, timeouts, and just having his hand on the game. He does not have
which he's been good at. He is
right, like, and that's why I said, okay, so you were offensive coordinator and title only. You really were just you were a people manager of the game. That's the type of coach that he's going to end up being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
yep.
But enough of that. Around the league, what else we got on the docket for tonight?
Oh, let's talk about playoffs. Well, Don, real quick, Anthony Addis says Eagles looking to re-sign Swift. I don't know if that's a question or a statement. I hope they re-sign him. Don says
he deserves it.
Swift's not leaving his hometown team. It might not be up to him, but who knows? Like someone brought up, I think someone wrote an article. I forget who it was. I was reading, and the way they spun it, again, it's an article, so you can spin it a certain way, but like they made it sound like, hey, like why would he want to come back to a team where he was underutilized? And that's a fair point. So maybe
he also was top 5 in rushing.
Yeah. So I mean, like he had a career year, was fully healthy with us. So I mean, like, yeah, that's fair points. You can make arguments for both sides. I think right now it's a coin flip, 50-50 if he gets re-signed. I hope he does. I think he great.
I'm
70. What you think? It's 70% chance that he will get re-signed?
Yes, I do. I think he had I think he had a good enough year to get re-signed, but not enough of a year that's going to put them completely out of the market of signing him. Like
I hope
Miles
you're right.
Miles had back-to-back years where it's like the touchdowns weren't here 2 years ago with him, but he had enough of an offensive showing to be like, okay. And the same thing with Swift. Like he had a really good year last year, but it's also his first real year. You know what I mean? Like where he stayed healthy and everything. So I think he did enough to get paid by us, but not enough to where it's like it puts us out of the range. I think a nice 2 to 3 year extension that's not too crazy is definitely a possibility.
Yeah. I hope so. All right. That's Don, you're here. So I mean, while you're here,
congratulations, man.
Let's talk about the Lions and Bucks game. I guess to lead off because Don's here. I don't know. What you guys want to lead off with? The takeaways from that game.
The Lions showed me something in the fact that the adversity that they dealt with. It was kind of the neck and neck game. It was 10-10 halftime. Bucks kind of squandered away some opportunities again, but then that second half they put their foot on the gas. And Jameer, listen, we were sitting here on draft night, like Jameer Gibbs at 18. Like, what are you doing? Listen,
it wasn't even at 18.
Yeah, what was it?
12.
12. So I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, nah, and they knew what they were doing.
They did.
And it sucks. It sucks because if they, I want them to win so bad on Sunday. If they win and they get there,
I'll be so happy because the Niners suck and they don't deserve anything.
I hope so.
I just have
lost on Sunday.
A sneaky feeling that what's going. I have this feeling anyway. They're going to be us up from last year, where 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, Dan Campbell is going to be looking for coordinator replacements.
Yep, it's going to be.
Oh yeah.
So if they win, like let's say they win the Super Bowl, that's the greatest. I think that's the greatest trade in NFL history.
It's Stafford winning one with the Rams and then Goff.
Obviously the Cowboy trade is phenomenal because of like what it was given up and everything, but it's never been done in NFL history to where you're swapping QBs and picks and both teams win a Super Bowl with each guy. That's insane.
Right. Yeah, I mean, as far as what, not so much picks, but just what each team got out of it and the resurgence. I mean, like having Detroit be relevant is I'll say it's good for the game.
It's the same thing with the Browns. Like having teams that have not been good for a long time be good. Dolphins as well. Like it's great. The crazy thing is, once again, the Lions haven't made the playoffs in 28 years or won a playoff game in 28 years, and they still made an NFC championship game before the Cowboys.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Cowboys, our my good friend who's a Cowboys fan, Ryan, he says the only thing the Lions showed me is that the Campbell's lack of experience is going to bite him. Love the guy, but if he makes the late game clock mistakes against a better team, the Lions lose. What mistakes were you talking? Like I can't remember.
How did that experience work out with Mike McCarthy?
So,
I mean, Mike,
go easy on him. He's a good
management didn't cost them in their game. That's not what cost them.
Yeah, what I'll say to that is, you want to talk about mismanaging clock? The team that the Lions are facing next week, they have more. We'll get to it in a bit, but he has some clock mismanagement. He's always known to have bad clock management. But anyways, yeah, I think that with the Lions, they are. It's great. I'm obviously rooting for them to come out of the NFC. I thought they really. It was a close game for such, like until what the end of the late third quarter, and they finally went up 2 scores. But like they kept like the Bucks kept it close, and good thing for the Lions. They hard fought win, and I'm not gonna say like. I'm not going to penalize them because it's the playoffs. You know, it's going to be every team you face in the playoffs. It's going to be a hard out no matter what. Yeah, Ryan hates Mike McCarthy, so you're not getting into that. So let's if you flip it to the other team, good conversation is or good thing to think about. What do they do with Baker?
They extend him.
Yeah, you bring him back.
Yeah, because if you're looking at everything, like the last.
But how much do you want to pay him?
Well, here's the thing. They could be – I mean, you can kind of give him a 2 to 3 years, 60 mil, 40 guarantee, some shit like that. Or you trade for Justin Fields. Like – or you – that – you know, I mean, like you're not in a position capital like cap space wise, like draft pick wise to be in the game for the quarterbacks, but you can make some moves.
It's tough. I think. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I think it's tough because you ideally you want to bring him back, but like you don't want to be like the Giants and get tied up to a big contract with him. So I think it depends. Like maybe Baker wouldn't demand a big contract, so maybe you can do it. But like if Baker does want a big contract, like right. I don't know if I'm the Bucks, I don't pay that because that's the trap. It's like, yeah, Baker did great for them, but is he the franchise QB? No, I don't think he is. So you like
I would give him a 2-year deal, so that way. Yeah, next year is the tryout year, and if he plays like he did this year, which was amazing, like you know what? Then guess what? It's extension time, baby. It's another extension.
I wouldn't say amazing. He played really well. I would say amazing.
They were expected to be.
No, I know
the
what
number one pick team. That's what they were expected to be.
He played really well, but I wouldn't say there were a lot of games where they lost because of him. Like I wouldn't say he was the main reason for them having success. Right. He contributed. That's what I'm saying. Like he played really well.
Stat that sounds fake, but is actually real. Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson have the same amount of playoff wins.
Until this weekend.
Yeah, until this.
Hopefully.
I don't know about that.
This Kansas City team is gritty, bro.
Let's segue to Ravens Texans then.
This one team just bigger, just in a pool where they're not the largest.
After halftime, I will say this: DeMeco Ryans gave them all he and the Texans gave the Ravens all they could muster that first half. It was 10-10. Like they really came out with a good game plan to start. It's just that the Ravens at halftime said, "Okay, we see what you're doing. We're going to counter like this, and then we're going to just win because we're the better team." And that's what happens. I mean, you're the better team, but it's funny because the Ravens adjusted to blitzes, and it's just painful to see a team adjust to being attacked against the blitz, and the Eagles for 6 straight weeks couldn't adjust.
No,
against the blitz. It's crazy. But anyways, the Ravens were just a better team, but kudos to the Texans. Like I'm not even like it's kind of like they're playing with house money. Yeah, fantastic year. They're playing with house money. Yep. Like there's no shame in them being.
Is it odd that Slowick is like looking to make, or they was connected to a lateral move? Because did he interview, or suppose they were going to interview? He accepted an interview for offensive coordinator position with Washington?
I thought it was head coach.
No, I saw it was OC somewhere. I can't. Man, let me stand by.
I thought, I personally maybe I missed the report, but I thought his interviews were for head coach. But I could be wrong.
I know he's interviewed for a couple of head coaching jobs where he was in the running for Titans, but he was meeting with Washington.
Did they hire anyone yet?
They hired Brian Callahan.
Brian Callahan.
So
yeah, they were quick to pull the trigger. But yeah, there's not much else to say about the Ravens. I said this also right after the game. Like, I really hope people are starting to like keep quiet about Lamar. Like, that was a win, and they won because of him. Lamar was fantastic, and I really hope this whole narrative of that, like, that he can't win in the playoffs is starting to die down.
Right.
Because
once you start winning more playoff games, that kind of just goes away. Like,
well, also, not just that, but also like I still got into some like arguments. I don't know, disagreements with people online. There are still people that refuse to give Lamar credit. They still think he's not that good of a passer, but that's absolutely incorrect. Like, this year, this is what I've been saying. Like, once you get him weapons and an actual offensive system that actually has good passing concepts, not Greg Roman's simple and vanilla crap, like, you're able to see that Lamar can actually pass the ball. Yeah. Now, just because his numbers aren't like through the roof, he's not throwing for 400 yards. He's not throwing for 400 yards because he doesn't need to throw for 400
exactly.
yards. He's still like deadly on the ground. Like,
it's like the people who were complaining about Jalen in the playoffs last year. They're like, "Oh, well, he didn't really do anything. He had 120 yards in the Giants game." Yeah, he also had like 2 touchdowns and a few passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns. Why? Because they're up by like 25 at halftime, to where you don't even need to do anything. All Jalen was doing in that third quarter was handing the ball. That's exactly what Lamar was doing. It's like, whatever. Like, I've been his harshest critic of Lamar Jackson. And, like, he's been impressive all year. Like, he's going to win his second MVP. He's in an AFC championship game. Like the one thing about Lamar has always been he hasn't been clutch in the playoffs. He's going to AFC championship game. There's nothing you can say about it. Like, people tried to discredit him over Dak, and I'm just like, guess what? Lamar's going to a championship game. Dak is not. Lamar's going to win a second MVP. Dak is not. Like, I just, like, people just want to hate on Lamar because he is a running quarterback. That's one of the main reasons people want to crap on him. It's the same reason they want to crap on Hurts and anything else. Like, because he's quarterbacky.
Not quarterbacky.
Oh, he's not quarterbacky anymore? I thought he was not quarterbacky.
No, the lady was like, I like my quarterbacks being quarterbacky.
So, she means something else, but
I know she means something else. I know. The others. What was the next game? Oh my God, Packers Niners, guys.
Can we not talk about it? I don't even want to talk about it. I'm just so mad. Like, you had this game.
They had this game, yo. Like, all of the missed opportunities.
Like, people complain about the QB sneak, the Twitch push all the time, but you know what? When you don't know how to freaking do it, and you get stuffed at 4th and 1, you look like a moron. Like,
oh my God, yeah.
Even that, like, if you're not 100% sure if he can do it, kick the field goal.
Idea.
Use Aaron Jones.
When they were dropping interceptions and they failed on the 4th down, like, I was like, oh, this is one of those games. These are I felt it. I was like, this is one of those games where those missed opportunities are going to bite them in the butt, and it did. Like, oh God, they had that.
Well, it's not so much the opportunities. I mean, like, listen, put Brock Purdy in the big old Missy Elliott trash bag and have him in the I Can't Stand the Rain video, because Dixon dropped the pick 6. There was another drop, the missed field goal, which they really didn't have a chance. But good teams, we saw it in the closeout game Sunday. Like, good teams somehow find a way.
They find a way, yeah.
To survive.
Unless God hates you.
I don't know. Have you been tracking Debo status at all? Anybody? Do we have any 49ers?
They said they won't know. They said they won't have a better idea until Wednesday. So we'll see. That was the last.
Oh, I
report
can't
saw
wait for him
yesterday.
to not play and they lose and be like, well, see, if G-Ball played, we would have won. Like, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
It was
I
amazing
tweeted-
how much time Love had to throw the ball. Like there was really not a
Yeah.
lot of pressure. I mean, Bosa would flash every once in a while, but like we seen with the Eagles, Hargrave towards the end of the season starts to kind of wind down a little bit. It's not as effective. They like it's just they were able to be ran on. And hey, listen, if I'll tell you this, San Fran, there's any Niners fans in here, Don can attest to this, but if the Packers can run on you, the Lions can really run on you.
Let's oh my god, Don Gibbs and Montgomery, please feast.
Yeah.
Please feast.
It will be so impressive because he'll be one of the few quarterbacks to ever make a second Super Bowl with an additional team.
Yeah. Well, and Don says I'm not a dirty player, but listen, Chauncey gonna do that anyway.
Chauncey don't care.
He don't need to push in that direction. He gonna do that regardless.
Oh my god.
He gonna do that regardless. That's gonna be done
God,
regardless.
And then hey, Zach Ertz signed with the Lions. So
there you go.
I
forgot he was out there.
Yeah, he signed with the Lions. Don, you got our boy.
He's not a blocker, so I mean,
he's just there for depth, and he wants to get another ring. By all means.
I think it's actually going to rain harder this Sunday than it did last Sunday. It's like 75% chance of rain.
I can't wait.
But now here's the other thing though too. We sit here and we make fun of Purdy. Remember, Jared Goff got small hands.
Yeah,
too.
the Lions. Yeah.
But it's crazy because if you talk to me about, here's the thing, in a game like that, where the conditions are equal and both teams can run the ball, do you rely on the talent of the running back or the talent of the offensive line and the running back? Because we all can say Detroit's offensive line probably is the best O-line in football, right?
Yeah.
And you put them on the field where you could run the ball. And obviously Gibbs and Montgomery aren't near Christian McCaffrey's level, but their O-line, the 49ers, isn't near the O-line of the Detroit.
They're
you
not.
See what I'm saying? But also
they're two guys on that line, and that's it. Like, yeah, they're not. Yeah, I agree. That is the obvious key to the game is can the Lions run it down their throats? That they have to be able to do that. If they do that, they have a damn good shot.
And then everything else. So let's just go through. We don't even need to talk. Listen, I'll say this about Sunday night's game: Buffalo, Kansas City. If not now, when? And I'm almost to the point where I'm saying, like, listen, if I'm Buffalo, I seriously have to think about blowing it up. Yep. Honestly, I got to think about moving on from the coach. I hate to say it, but I may have to throw Josh Allen out there to see what I can get from him as far as the trade.
No, you can't. No,
listen,
the biggest Josh Allen supporter on this show.
Let me finish my thought. I'm only saying this because then I could offer Jalen and 3 firsts for Josh Allen.
No, thank you.
That's the only reason I'm saying it. That's the only reason I'm saying it. Dude, that touchdown throw to fucking Shakir, man. Oh my god.
If he had that. And can we
No, not that one. I'm talking about when he actually hit on.
When he actually hit on.
Rolling to his left and threw across his body.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Like, I want to clear up that the miss he had to Shakir in the end zone late in the game, like, because we had a lot of people saying, "Oh, you should have thrown it to Diggs. He was wide up on the cross." That's not freaking Ted Wynn of the Athletic and Honest NFL. They broke that down, and it's exactly what I was saying about the play. Like, one, if you have a touchdown shot, like you have an opportunity to get a touchdown, you get the freaking touchdown. Like it's there, you take that shot at the end zone. Okay, because kicking a field goal, if he had made it, how many people in that stadium still would have been comfortable with Patrick Mahomes getting the ball back with over a minute left? I'm telling you, not a soul in that stadium would be comfortable in that scenario. So you have to go for the touchdown if it's there. Second of all, it's not he missed it, but he missed the pass, he missed the throw, but the decision to take that shot was still part of the correct progression. Okay, like the Diggs underneath, he's not the first or second read of that play design. Shakir is. So
Right.
I don't think that.
Again, this isn't Madden. Okay, fans, when they see a wide open wide receiver, they automatically think, "Oh, throw it to the receiver." That's not how progressions work. That's not how it works. So you can get on Allen for missing the throw, but it's incorrect. It's not fair to get on Allen for making the decision to throw it to Shakir. Know the difference. Know the difference. So like, yeah, I think like just being correct in the analysis of that one play was very important. And like again, you look at that one play, sure, but there's no way I'm looking at Josh Allen and saying he's the reason they lost. He played unbelievably, and it's unfortunate that they just
Not so
can't
much
figure out
past
the
5
Chiefs.
yards.
I'm upset I'm not getting Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson in the AFC Championship. Like 8 touchdowns over divisional weekend, and we're not getting that matchup.
Yeah.
That's why I said, like, if he can't beat them then
You
on
can't.
his field with that type of performance, I don't know what else you can do.
When he can't beat Patrick Mahomes with like 15 seconds left, that tells you all you need to know. Like, it's not happening. Like,
Right.
Josh Allen is a great quarterback. There's a lot of highs and lows when it comes to him.
I would say, outside of just being upset at Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are making it, please do not let this Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. It was cool when it started.
Oh, I still love it. It's
imagine
fantastic.
that shit in Vegas at the Super Bowl. It would be sickening.
Yeah.
I just love how much it pisses people off at this point, to where it's just fun because like she's the worst. She's literally just being there to be his girlfriend.
This is not towards her. My angst isn't towards her. My angst is towards the NFL and the camera for feeding into.
If you don't understand why they're doing it, I don't know what to tell you. Because
we know why they're doing it.
There's so many girls right now who are trying to get into the NFL because of the Chiefs and because of Travis Kelce right now. Like they don't need marketing right now. She's the marketing. Like she is developing so many new fans right now. What she was doing for voters, she's doing for fans right now. Like 10,000 new voters, that's cool. We just got 1 million new NFL fans. Thanks, Taylor. You're the best.
Yeah.
I want to backtrack real quick and like I know you like to talk in like absolutes and saying it's never going to happen. How long did it take for Peyton Manning to beat Tom Brady in the playoffs? It took a while. It took a while. Okay, it took a while. So let's not say like it's never going to happen. Like
it took 5 years, I think.
Let's not act like it's because Josh Allen is playing horribly. No, like this is a team thing. This is why I always say wins and losses are not a QB stat. It's like this is a prime example. Like you had Brock Purdy in one game play horrible for the whole game outside of just one drive, and his team won. But then you have Josh Allen who played lights out, but his team lost. So you're going to say, oh, Josh Allen lost, so he was the worst quarterback than Brock Purdy who won. That's why, again, wins and losses, they're not a QB stat. But like you, in terms of blowing it up, I think you have to. It's not. I think they're naturally going to have to really figure out stuff because I think it was beyond this year. I don't know the exact number, but
it's like 44 million next year.
Josh Allen's cap hit is going to now start to.
It's not just that Von Miller's getting older.
He's getting older. Von Miller didn't do anything.
You have a lot of money committed to him.
Diggs is getting older. I think Diggs might be out. Like both safeties are pretty. I think they're both pending free agents. Tre'Davious White can't stay healthy. There are other players that I think are up in the air and might not return. So like you're going to have to reconstruct that roster anyway. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a big change. And who knows the future of Sean McDermott? Like I think it's likely he stays, but is it a guarantee? I don't know. I know that a lot of Bills fans were talking and they were saying like it might be time to move on from McDermott, but we'll see.
Yeah. Fire him. Make Joe Brady the coach.
That would happen.
I don't know. I don't know what they would do with that. But it wasn't really the defense. They gave up 27. I don't know. That game was just odd, man. That game was just it felt like Buffalo should have been up by a lot more than they were.
Yep.
And then you look up and it's just not only are they not up, they're down 3.
It was back. It was really back
the
and forth.
The punt was ridiculous.
That was so predictable. It was so predictable.
So the thing in the end zone, like obviously he missed him, and it was just it happens. Sometimes you're just not on the same page. The thing I had issue with was the long deep shot to Diggs. You didn't need that. Like you could have. There were other play calls you could have had.
It did hit Diggs in the hand.
It did, but like he didn't catch it. But also, like, did you need like a 60-yard bomb?
Whose fault is that though? If it hit Diggs in the hand,
I put it on both of them. I don't think they should have called that play, but I also think Stephon Diggs should have caught the ball.
If you throw a ball and it hits a receiver in the hands and they drop it, it's on the quarterback.
I'm not saying it's on the quarterback. I'm saying I wouldn't have called that play call. Like whether
no, I know, but let's
you didn't need that. You needed just short yardage.
You didn't need it, but you threw it, and Josh Allen hit him in his hands.
You talking about this like the 70-yard throw?
Yes,
the 70-yard throw that Diggs dropped. Whose fault is that?
Diggs I think he misjudged it because it hit his outside. It hit his outside shoulder, like not shoulder, but it hit up here. It didn't hit him in the hands because if it hits him in the hand,
I think
it was a little underthrown.
I think saying like you don't need a deep shot there. That's okay. You can say that, but to say that was a bad call when it literally like you have to have your players. Your top players have to play. They have to perform. They have to make the plays. Josh Allen hit him with a great pass. Diggs didn't come up. Like he didn't come up with the play. That is Diggs' fault. But I look at that and I blame Diggs. I don't on that specific play. The call was fine because obviously he had it. Call was fine. The throw was fine. I'm not looking at the quarterback or the play caller. I'm looking at Diggs. He dropped it. It's his fault on that play. That's as simple as I can say.
Yeah, right. So, are we doing a list tonight?
I mean, I have one ready.
Of course. Okay, good. All right. I know people were asking about it.
There we go.
It was Martian. It wasn't people.
Martian asked. Okay, yeah. But Grace said, yeah, Diggs has to catch that football. Devontae Smith would have caught.
He would have. Yes, he would have.
Yep. Martian says, unleash the list. All right, here we go. There it is. All right, PY. What we got on the docket tonight?
Under the radar OC ideas.
Oh, ideas? Okay.
So like because I see a lot of people like just going out and like getting like the big name OCs elsewhere and be like, oh, we can go get the Eric Bieniemy and stuff like that. I'm like, I just kind of took a different approach in what I saw. So it's honestly in no particular order. These are just my 5 guys. So I got Darrell Bevell.
How do you spell Darrell Bevell?
I think it's DARRELL BEVEL. I think so.
Yeah, I'll look it up while you talk.
Okay. It's getting a Dolphin system. You know, they had a lot of success with their wide receivers. They're creative. I like what McDaniels does over there, and I think he could be an interesting option.
Okay.
Brian Grease of the Niners.
Isn't it Brian Greasy?
Greasy, whatever.
Right.
Give me someone from a Shanahan system. I'm good with that. Creativity, good running backs, you know, not old fogies, you know, important things. Chip Kelly. There we go. I said under the radar.
Oh my god.
No, ironically, no. I said under the radar. Like he's like, there's like 3 articles in a day right now about Chip Kelly.
Is this supposed to be under the radar? Our ideas for the Eagles?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
I got Al Milwee from the Texans.
Spell that for me.
I think it's Milwee.
It's your list. You don't have this written down?
I have it written down, but
But I know what.
So I wrote. I'm pretty sure that's how you spell it.
Wait. You have it written down. How do you have? Did you not look these people up?
I did. I was putting it together while I was on the treadmill.
Yeah. Okay. So, how do you spell? Like, if you look them up, doesn't it say how you spell it?
Yes.
Oh God. Okay. Just move on. Just move on, please.
I got Dan Pitcher from the Bengals.
Dan Fisher.
Dan Pitcher, Pither.
Okay. I haven't heard of him.
Yeah, he's their quarterback's coach.
Quarterback's coach for the Bengals. Okay.
Yep. I mean, work
Really
with Burrow. I like that. I like all the creativity. I like the smart things they do in the Zach Taylor offense. I think he'd be willing to take a lateral move. This man is computer generated. I would argue Dan Pitcher sounds more computer generated.
They both do.
Well, you know who gave a great name? Pitcher, because he pitches the ball.
All right,
and obviously this is like number 1, Zach Robinson.
Oh, okay. The Rams.
Yep. Yeah,
No, I would like. Yeah.
I've heard people bring him up multiple times, and Stafford's played really well for the Rams. So OGP said who the hell is Milwee? We needed some positivity, okay?
I'm over here trying to like spell it, Google search this one. I'm like, I'm not.
I'd like Zach Robinson. I'd like Zach Robinson. I didn't consider him before, but I was like, yeah, that actually would be. I would like him. McVaytree, so
there you go. Once again, all good trees. They're all good trees. You know who's not on this tree? You know who's not involved? Anything in the Belichick tree. That's a bad tree.
Doesn't have good history. That does not have good history.
Cactus.
Yep.
I mean, it's not a bad list. These
are like all guys who are up and coming in the league. Like these are like
I wouldn't. Darrell Bevell surely is not.
Yeah, he's been around. I like 1 and 4. I like 1 and 4. I like 1 and 4.
1 and 4, you like?
They're all from creative, thought-provoking systems, which I'm like, yeah, cool, let's do that. I like that.
I just don't know. Like, is Greasy garnering any coordinator thing?
Hey, man, what is his current title?
QB coach.
He's a quarterback's coach. And
they're all QB coaches.
He's a QB coach where? In 49ers?
San Fran.
Yep.
Yeah, San Fran.
Santa Clara?
Santa Clara Niners. The Santa Clara Niners.
And you said Al Milwee, he's with the Texans?
Yes, it's Stroud's guy.
Yep. I just don't understand how you looked at an Ohio State quarterback as like, you know what? I want that type of mentality on my team.
He changed it. He made me a believer for CJ and CJ only. Look, I mean, not all Ohio State quarterbacks have that mentality. That winner, that drive, that desire.
But all right, boys. So great list. Definitely intriguing. I really don't have anything to combat it with. We are hitting that 1 hour 45-minute mark where we want to be up out of here and enjoy our hump days tomorrow. So when we do this show next week, who are we looking for at our Super Bowl 58 matchup?
Ravens, Niners. Sorry, Dun. I'm rooting for the Lions.
Right.
Let's make that clear. I am absolutely rooting for the Lions, but I think the Niners still pull it off.
I just had this sneaky feeling. No, I've been with them all year. Ravens, Lions. I was on the Lions last year. I think they do it this year, but I could see. I have more faith in the Lions winning than I do the Ravens. Honestly, just because
Really?
of
Okay.
who the quarterback and the head coach is, the defenses. Yeah, just because the Ravens have been on such a roll. Are they really that much better than the Chiefs? Like, are they really us from last year? Where like just no matter what you do, they just can't. They're going to roll everybody by 14.
I think so, but
okay. I mean, that's why I said Ravens Lions. I just with the weather conditions, I have more faith in the NFC Championship game that the Lions had the better ability to run the ball consistently. I think they have the better tight end in the game. And if Debo doesn't play, I still think Ayuk is the best wide receiver on the side. But I mean, go ahead.
Consider the Lions secondary, like they're bad. They let up a lot of like stuff through the air. So like, if the weather isn't going to be too much of a factor, which I mean, if it's going to downpour, then it should. But like, other than that, it could be a big like Brandon Ayuk game.
Yeah, I mean, and if you really ask me in the Niners and Lions game, biggest home run threat is Jahmyr Gibbs, and it's just, and then also Jameson Williams. So when I look at like explosive plays, I see that coming more from the Lions end, and that's very rare to say against a San Francisco team. So, PY, who's your Super Bowl 58 matchup?
I got Chiefs Lions.
I can see it. I
can't root against Patrick Mahomes. Like, this is where he shines in those championship games. He walks on water in those games. Like, whatever happens. He finds a way to get them. Like, even when, like last year, when they had him dead to rights, he just steps out of bounds and something happens, man.
Well,
all you had to do is not touch him, and then they go to the Super Bowl.
Well, the Bengals the year before that did beat them. So I mean,
they did. No,
it's possible,
they did, but he's still. Since then, he's been money in those championship games.
This is true. But fam, I appreciate your rocking with us. Yes, it could be. Anything else before we get up out of here tonight?
Can I just say two things? Media-wise. One, that Netflix movie, Leave the World Behind. I don't know if anyone's watched it.
The one with Mahershala Ali.
Yeah, and Julia Roberts and what's his name? Why can't I think of his name there now? But anyway, horrible. Horrible. I am so pissed off. Horrible.
Great cast.
And the ending is what killed. Like, oh, I'm so mad. And two, the Avatar trailer came out today, and needless to say, I am so freaking excited. I really, 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 really hope it's good. I really, really do. Come on, please. I really, really hope it's good.
Can't be any worse.
Netflix, WWE got the bag, $5 billion over 10 years. We'll see where streaming services are going to be in the next 5 years. So, but outside of that, for myself, OGP, for Chuck's over there, PY down there, Jake would have been over here somewhere maybe here, over there. You know what I mean? But he's not.
He's very negative.
Once again, ATD Radio on all social media platforms. Like, share, subscribe. We are out of here. Peace.